Hello, everybody out there in comic book land. My name is George Serrano, aka The Don, and if you're watching this, you can only be here for one reason, and that's a brand new episode of Major Discourse, the series that we do where we talk to the latest and greatest in the comic book medium and see what makes them tick. As always, I'm never alone. I am joined by Alex Garcia, aka The Cog, the comic OG. Sir, if you can say hi to the people.
Hello, everybody. The Comic OG is back from NYC to have a glorious conversation with everybody here.
Yes, I'm super excited for this episode. It's been a couple weeks in the making, but yeah, joining us, we have a extraordinary guest, one of the architects behind our Arcada and All Against All, the man who took the X-Men to infinity, comics and beyond, the close confidant of Casey Jones, and the skillful scribe behind Cyclops, the amazing, the astonishing, the unlimited Alex Paknadel. Alex, how the heck are you?
I'm great, thanks, Ross. I don't think I can live up to that introduction, or match that flow, even slightly. But thank you so much for having me.
Super stoked to be talking to you right now. Cyclops is on the tip of everybody's tongue. We're seeing a resurgence. It's a Scott Boy summer going on, and you are partially responsible for that. But before we get all into the nitty gritty of the ruby quartz glasses, I just wanted you to talk a bit about your journey in comics, from being a fan to writing your own. How did you sort of get to this moment here? It doesn't feel like you've gone so much has changed since you started this process.
Yeah, thanks. It's one of those, like, I feel like I'm sort of part of the furniture now. I've been around for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like I came up with Dan Waters, Ram V, Ryan O'Sullivan. Like we're all part of a writers' studio based in the UK.
Yeah.
But now we've spread. Like Dan's. I don't know if Jennifer Lopez would consider Dan to be a New Yorker, but he's living in New York, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so we're all over the world now. But yeah, we all sort of started in the sort of London scene. But in terms of like how, I mean, I met them shortly after like I had my first book, and
Okay.
I'm always kind of quite open about this. Like I think there's I wouldn't consider myself like a nepo baby per se, but like
Right.
maybe I'm like a nepo nephew. Like let's go with
Fair.
that. Like
Fair.
I got real lucky. So like the town where I live, because the thing about the UK comic scene is, just because of like geography, right? Like it's really small and it's kind of hyper focused. So like everybody knows each other, and it
Okay.
doesn't matter whether you're kind of, people who make fans like, people who make fanzines, like they'll still like go to the pub with Kieran Gillen. It's just one of those. It's kind of hyper
Yeah.
concentrated. Um, and so where I live, Andy Diggle, who wrote Green Arrow Year One,
Yep. Yep.
The
he
losers.
like yeah, and the losers, right? Like I can see his house from my window right now. Right?
That's so interesting.
So and like where and like he was just down the pub, and for like quite a long time, I would just kind of, I'd be sitting there with him in the boozer, just kind of telling him my shitty ideas, and he kind of gave me this like tough love thing, and I remember just went like, he said like, Alex, I'm not going to listen to any more of your shitty ideas, but if you write them down, I'll look at them and I'll give you kind of constructive feedback. So I
Okay.
did. And then like we were both at a comic show. Like there's a show in the UK. It's not the biggest, but it's kind of it's like everyone refers to it as like nerd prom. It's called Thought Bubble. And
Okay. I've
it's
heard of
but
that
like
bubble.
yeah, like
Huh.
it yeah, like it's like Angoulême.
Yeah.
Um and I was there, and Will Dennis, who was then the group editor at Vertigo, happened to be over, right?
Ooh.
And Andy just sat me down in front of him and just went, talk to him, tell him, because I'd written something down.
Yeah.
And then like, I thought it was going to kind of die on the vine. And then like I got a call like a few weeks later going, oh, we all really like this. We're gonna try and make this go. And then, I was sat there just kind of, beside myself really, and just wondering what was going to happen. And then like the news came down the wire that it wasn't going to go at DC. And, I
Hmm.
kind of saw my kind of life, my hopes and dreams kind of, fall to ash.
Right.
But then like Will is like such a great guy, man. But I got a call like a day later and he said, look, I'm really sorry that I couldn't make it happen at DC, but we're in the middle of a big move. That was when they were moving out to Burbank.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I called Boom Studios and just asked them if they'd be interested in it, and they said they want it. And
Ooh.
so like I went from having no published works, like no shorts, nothing, to like an 8 issue maxi series like overnight. And I made all the mistakes that you would expect. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Like the whole rookie thing of just basically like I'm just gonna put every fucking good idea I've ever had in this thing. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
still like I love it, but like there's a lot of kind of and I think it's a good book, but like there's a lot of kind of growing up in public that went
Hmm.
on there. But I think that's like an important thing to do, right? Like I don't think there's
100%.
any there's no kind of creative honesty in kind of pretending that you kind of emerged from the womb like
Great.
just able to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like nobody
Yeah.
like sits down at a piano and just like, you know,
Yeah.
so it's important to me that that's out there. But yeah, that's really like my origin story. But like
Wow.
one of the things that you find with a lot of British people is that they usually kind of come up through. I mean, the traditional route is like 2000 AD, right? So
Yeah.
like there's a thing that they do future shocks, which are sort of it's like six or 8 page self-contained like sci-fi stories with like a horror twist.
Right.
And I know like so many of my peers and like betters came up through that system, and I felt like I've been playing catch up with those guys for 10 years because the discipline that they have, in
Mhm.
terms of economy of storytelling. I remember years ago this was, but like when I think when Twitter was like a sane place to be, whenever
Yeah.
that
Right.
was.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Uh
called
like I
X.
saw like a
I'm never
conversation
calling it
between
X. I'm sorry. Sorry.
yeah, yeah, but I think it was a conversation I think between like uh Kieran, Al Ewing, and Cy Spurrier, and they were all kind of laying out like how many pages would you need to get from like a janitor's closet to outer space, and they're all just doing this thing of like, oh, like I can do that in a panel, you know what I
What
mean?
an
And like I'm
interesting little
sitting there
Wow.
going like,
exercise.
yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
going like, how the hell do I fill 20 pages? Like I'm
Right.
terrified. But you know what I mean? Like because
Right.
they came up through that gym,
Yeah.
like they have this whole toolkit that I've had
Right.
to like learn on the job. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
so interesting.
So so now here we are. You're in the mix of it. Forgive me for not knowing exactly what book comes next, but what book for you? I know for me, it was All Against All is the book that got you on my radar. But what was the book that started to get you to All Against All? How'd you go from there to All Against All?
I appreciate. Thank. I mean, that's my. It's the most personal book I've made.
Oh,
I
interesting.
mean, without kind of getting into the weeds, like my son got very sick. He's cool. He's fine now. But he got very sick when I was, and it changed the trajectory of that book. So it meant a lot to me, but it means a lot more now.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I think, you never want to kind of say that you've made any kind of, I mean, as pretentious as it sounds, you don't want to say like you've made a definitive statement, but like to date, that might be, I think, the best thing I've done.
Yeah.
So thank you for saying, like, genuinely, like, thank you for saying that. It means a lot to me, it's a very personal book, and I went to some pretty kind of vulnerable places, if you will. So like it means a lot to me.
I could tell.
I,
Yeah. Yeah.
thank you, Alex.
Yeah.
Like truly, like it
Yeah.
means a lot.
I mean,
Um,
can you help me get it back in print? Because I can't find it.
um, I'll try. Like, I mean, I mean, I can send you some comps. It's
Hey, I'm
it's
down.
one of those I didn't know. It's one of those where I think like it was a weird one because it
Yeah, he got that
the
one
word of
there.
mouth was really positive,
Mhm.
and
It's
um but I feel like because it was weird because I remember talking to Ram V about it to begin
Hmm.
with, and he said to me, because like because we still have this sort of writers group thing, and I know this is all very kind of like inside baseball or whatever, but
No,
the
what baseball? Yes, yes. Keep going.
there we go.
It's baseball.
But like
It's
Is
so
this
so
is this White Noise you're speaking of? The collective?
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the writer studio that
yeah.
I'm in. So we
We've
generally
heard it.
kind of
You are being. I'm sorry to cut you off. You're just being so modest because you're dropping names. You're dropping like Vertigo. You're mentioning all these things. That's amazing.
oh, I wasn't
You're
good enough to get into Vertigo.
yeah, but so what? So
Hey,
what?
it's still open. The
I
door's
dare
still open.
give it a
I
year. Give it a
wasn't good enough to
year.
get into Boom, but I think they took pity on me. You know what I mean? Like,
No, but I mean, but here we are, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's just because I really want to let you know this book is so amazing, and people need to know about it. And I can't get more physical copies. I can't get the trade. So
that's
I
crazy.
hate
I had no
reading.
idea.
I hate reading digital. Hate it. Hate it. So don't make me keep reading digital and just help us get this. More people need to know about this book, especially I had no idea that the personal connection it had to you. I'm watching and I feel bad bringing it up, but it's
Not at all.
freaking
No, no, no,
good.
no, no. No, no. I mean, I'm, again, it's I feel like with this stuff is, if you don't want it out there, you wouldn't, if you don't
Mm,
want it out there, don't write, don't
right.
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
art,
Mm, yeah.
No, it's designed to be, again, a horrible digression. I was talking to there's the novelist Nick Harkaway. We just ended up
Hmm.
in this like weird kind of digression about like the function of art, right? Because
Yeah.
I think, we look at the world around us, right? And like I think it's pretty obvious that art doesn't, not in the way we'd all hoped, right? But like it doesn't like effect change, right? Like it
Right.
doesn't fix stuff.
Yes.
But I think what it does do, which I think still has like tremendous value, right, is I think it consoles. And I think the way that it consoles is it demonstrates to people, no matter where they are, and sometimes in like desperate situations, that like they're not alone in feeling the way that they do, right? It's communication, right? Like it's communication.
100%.
So if I
Hmm.
didn't want that out there, then I have no business doing what I do.
Right.
Um, but I mean, to the sort of to the sort of meat and matter of it, like in terms of how I kind of got to that, I think a lot of it was just it was a trust ex, it was a trust fall. The whole thing was a trust fall, right? So um Casper Wingard, who up until that point had been working almost exclusively with Dan Waters, right?
Hmm.
Um, he, we've been friends for years and everything, and I ended up, part of this sort of brain trust think tank, whatever you want to call it. We'd all kind of call each other up, and I was kind of asking him to sort of help me kind of break that story. And I swear to God, there was just a point where he just turned around and like we kind of, we're on Messenger or whatever, and he just goes, "I'm drawing this, aren't I?" And I was like,
Now
I
you are.
mean, I guess, like if you want.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, but those initial conversations that I had with Ram, right? Like he, because he sort of said to me, he said, "Look, you got two ways of doing this, right? Like you got the commercial way of doing it, which is you do it from the human perspective, right? So, broad strokes, the way I kind of pitched it was basically like, what if Tarzan was like the xenomorph from Alien? So instead of having like a xenomorph scuttling around a ship, you've got a human being scuttling around a ship attacking
Yeah.
aliens, right? So it's just a straight reversal of the beam, very kind of clean pitch. And that got a lot of people excited. And I was talking to Ram about it in terms of like, because then it comes, you get greenlit and then you go, well, like, how the fuck do I
Yeah. Now I gotta get this done.
now I got to get this out of my head and onto the page. Like, how do I do it?
Right.
And Ram was like, he was really honest with me. He said, look, there's the way that kind of shifts units, which is you do it from the human perspective. You center the human, you give him like narration, and you basically do it from his perspective because doing truly alien points of view is really tough.
Yeah.
And sorry again going off on one, but like
No. No.
it made me really appreciate because one of the things that came up when Casper and I were kind of when Casper was designing the aliens to begin with,
Mhm.
and we were really kind of naive about it, or I was certainly, because my whole thing was, I was like, let's think like John Carpenter. What's great about the thing? In the thing, you never get a sense of what it actually looks like, right?
That's
It's
true. Yeah.
just goo, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sick of aliens with like two eyes, teeth, a nose, and they've just got like some weird shit. Like I'm sick of
Right.
that. Let's scorch the earth and let's do like a proper alien. And we tried a couple things. And then it became like, oh no, like I understand now why like in Avatar, like they look like, really tall people with big eyes. It's because you can't, as a reader and as an audience, right? Like you can't empathize with things that don't bear at least a superficial resemblance to you. It's
Yeah.
really hard, and it's a really hard expectation.
Mhm.
So Ram was kind of saying to me, he's like, look, you got two ways of doing it. You can make the human truly alien, and you're going to lose some people, or you can foreground the human. You can have it from the human perspective, and that way you're kind of you're honoring your conceit, but you're kind of doing it from a more grounded sort of perspective. And we
Hmm.
talked it out, man, and it was just one of those where we just sort of went. And again, like I'm not saying this to kind of like blow smoke up my own whatever. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
genuinely,
Yeah.
it's just it felt more interesting to like the thing that I really liked about it, and that we both liked about it was that this idea of like the human being is the threat, the human being
Yeah.
is the alien, and
Right.
Yeah.
if you have it from his point of view, you lose all of that.
A hundred
But
percent.
it made it like a much weirder book. You know what I mean?
It's interesting. Like it seems like such a simple narrative device, but I remember in film, like I think that's the difference when you see something like Godzilla minus one, right? Where it's all
Oh,
from the
so good.
perspective of the people, and
Yeah.
he's just a storm. He's a natural occurrence that comes through, wreck shop, and leaves. There's no big sort of
Well,
uh
like, are you guys reading this?
what's
I
that?
can't back it up a little bit.
Asadora?
Asadora? I
Asadora,
have not
no.
read
No,
Asadora.
but I'm going to write it
Yeah.
down.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, write that down.
Asadora. Gotcha.
We'll
Yeah. Like
cover
if,
it.
if you love Godzilla minus one,
Yeah.
so
But
good.
the whole idea of like, you don't want to kind of see where Godzilla's coming from, what his motivations are. You're centering somewhere else, and the perspective of Godzilla is way scarier, undefined, while you're dealing with the human experience there. And then to the point of vulnerability, I think that that's the only way this medium really works. That's how it evolves. Um, the reason why I had gotten into it as strongly as I did, because I think this fandom you ebbs and flows with your dedication to it. But I had lost my father, and I wasn't really being consoled enough by religion, so I got super deep into my fandoms. And one of the things I found out about, or I realized about the superhero or just comic books in general, is that they were written by normal people like me who experienced the same pitfalls of this world, depression, sadness, division, all those things. But while I can't get up from my couch or my bed and I'm doom scrolling on my phone, they are putting all their feelings into a book that makes me feel less alone. Where I read it and I go, oh dang, like they're talking to me, but they're not.
Wow.
We're led to believe that a lot of the human experience is unique to the person that it's affected. And like I feel alone because I again lost my father. And how do I become a man? How do I navigate my life without somebody pointing in the right directions? And then I'm looking at books of several heroes who have lost their parents, right? Who still every day try their best to be better, try their best to, despite the odds, be a functioning member of society and somebody that people want to be around and somebody that inspires. And I think this medium is incredibly aspirational because of that, because of the normal human who puts that optimism in there. Even if it's the little bit of optimism they have left, even if it's a little bit of hope, even if it's a little bit of the vulnerability of, look, I'm a writer, but I'm not without scars. I'm not without mistakes. I'm not without self-doubt or imposter syndrome or all the things that come into being in this creative space. And I find that the books and the creatives that go the farthest are the ones willing to tap into that vulnerability because it's undeniable once it's tapped into. It just connects us all in a very ethereal way that I haven't been able to fully explain, but it does honestly make me feel less alone when a writer is able to be that vulnerable, because we're all brands now with social media. Everyone is a brand more than they are a person, and people are so scared to dive into that the messy stuff in here or in here that make us unique, that make the human experience unique. So I absolutely applaud you for being able to distill your feelings and the personal experience that you went through with your son in a book like that, because there's without a doubt there's not a 0% chance that somebody picked up that book and said, this is my story, like thank you for writing it, because now I can see myself and I feel less alone. So I think that's the true magic of this entire medium. That's why I evangelize about it, because I think it really kind of, it's not a roadmap to how to deal with trauma, but it's so many examples of how other people deal with it. And maybe you find a book that speaks to you and speaks to your roadmap of life. And now we have, because of your work, we have another example of how to deal with the world around us. And I applaud you for that.
I mean, I wouldn't. They don't deal with it well in that
Yeah,
book,
yeah, 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 yeah.
but
But it's definitely, yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
but do you mind me asking, George? Sorry,
yeah,
did you
yeah,
have did you have a relationship with comics before your father passed,
yeah,
or did you
yeah. And
rediscover them?
I had a relationship with comics. I would read, but I would almost say it was a bit more poppy, like pop culture.
Sure.
Like the books that I leaned towards were the big two, and the biggest ones in the big two. Like reading all of like Snyder's Batman, for instance, stuff like that. I going back and reading all the the Killing Jokes, the Kingdom Comes, the House of X, all the big event stuff. But maybe I say, from a bigotry of low expectations, I never saw past the surface. I was always kind of just looking at the action and the magic and the powers, and just looking a little bit deeper, I realized how much of the heart of these books is the creatives, like you said again, making a statement, having something to say about not only the human experience, but how we can better it and how we can be better people overall. One of the things that I took away, and before we get on this tangent, from your description and your explanation of how you feel about Cyclops, I was kind of turning the corner about how I felt about Superman. I didn't really get the character. I understood him. I respected him. I wasn't one of those people that was like, oh, I can't stand Superman. But he just wasn't for me, until I realized that that man's life is all restraint. Like everything that he does, he has to do it with a level of restraint, not only to sort of make the humans around him feel comfortable, but also because he can't afford to have a bad day, to have a temper, to be petty. And I feel like that was a lot of your characterization of Cyclops, was that
Yeah.
he's not a man that just woke up one day and said, I'm better than everyone else, and so I should lead. I'm better than everyone else, and I'm more squeaky clean, because I'm better than people. It's more so, I have to be on the straight and narrow. I don't get to be like Wolverine where I'm drinking myself, into oblivion, and who knows where I'm at next week. I have to be here next week, and I have to be here on time. There's people that depend on me. That I have responsibilities. I have, this entire team, this entire race of mutants kind of, looking towards me for something. And when you can distill, that essence to Cyclops, I mean, he's a character that I think a lot of people had a hard time also, like Superman, grasping onto. But again, just looking a little bit underneath the surface and realizing that some of the characters that may have come off when I was younger and a bit more angsty as goody two shoes were actually men holding everything they could together in an effort to be a better example of what we can be when confronted with all that kind of stuff. So it completely changed my mind about how I feel about this kind of stuff, because I realized how much good nature, how much optimism, and sometimes, like I said again, a roadmap to how you deal with the traumas of the world is distilled in these books, because of good men and women who decide that they've been through something and want to kind of transform. They want to transform the world around them, and they do it by starting in this fictional world. And it's the spoonful of sugar with your medicine, right? You're reading this book, and you may not expect to have a eye-opening experience about how you feel about other races or other religions or other sexes, or you know um, the government or any of this stuff, but then you leave feeling those feelings. You leave going, wait a minute, that's making me think about what's going on, in the world outside. And so realizing that comics had that extra level, had that extra step, and then starting this and becoming friends with Alex here, he started pointing me towards more indie stuff. And when you talk about like putting your heart on the line, like those indie books of everything is just trying your best shot. These creators putting it all on the line, like you were just saying, like putting their best ideas forward, being able to tell a definitive beginning and ending, right? In a world where ongoings were king for so long, being able to say, no, that's fine. That's the story I wanted to tell. Just, this amount of issues, this distilled, again, spoonful of sugar, look outside your window sort of stuff really, really made me want to talk about it more, want to introduce more books to people. I made a post the other day about like giving a comic to someone is a love language. Like lending somebody a trade paperback is a love language. You are giving
Depends on the
them,
comic, but sure.
yeah, 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 yeah. Giving somebody a trade is a love language because you are something about that book
I
affected
love
you.
you. Have from hell.
Yes, 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 right. But this idea that it affected you and you want to kind of transfer that energy, you want to
Yeah.
transfer that to someone else. I don't think there's another medium like it, especially when you consider how personal the reading experience is. You're the voices that you hear in your head, the pacing of each page. It's a very insular hobby, yet it connects so many people around the world silently. And I just love your ability to dive into those vulnerabilities. And when we talk about stuff like Sentinels and stuff, like you have something to say about how we might be taking shortcuts, using technology to take shortcuts in our human evolution when we should be a little bit more possibly insular and think about how we could just be better humans first instead of trying to be faster humans or more efficient humans or any of that kind of stuff there. I think that it's so interesting that you can read a comic and just see it at surface level and be absolutely enthralled with it. But also, if you took the time to kind of look behind the motivations, behind the message, behind the characters, you can really see the heartbeat of the creator and how they feel. They may, again, not be 100% in trying to tell you what to do next, but they definitely are instilling their opinion about how they feel about that kind of stuff. And it takes a level of vulnerability to do so.
I mean, where it gets really interesting, right, is where and I think this is where the relationship is at its most sort of fruitful, right?
Hmm.
Is every now and then, and by the way, this is not about kind of people kind of kissing your butt, like some of
Yeah.
so I've read some really trenchant like critiques of my work
Right.
that I've found really useful, right? Because
Hmm.
if it's in good faith, right? It's like, this wasn't for me for this reason and this reason and this reason. And you kind of, okay, maybe I'm repeating myself here, maybe these are some ticks that I have to kind of iron out, right?
Hmm.
But it's when people see things that maybe you weren't consciously kind of putting in. I mean, I remember there was one, and it was I did an Empire tie-in for the Swordsman, right? Like I think back in like 2020,
Hmm.
Mhm.
and it was I was writing the thing just as the pandemic was kind of grinding up, and there's a scene in that book, and on the surface of it, it's a comic booky conceit, right? But it's
Yeah.
the idea that Koi, who's like the big bad of this empire kind of crossover, goes back to Earth with his dad, and his dad is like a tree person, right? He's Gatati. But he just goes and he wants to kind of merge with this forest. Like he's tired. He's tired of being a human. He's tired of having human form. And he just wants to like merge with the forest again and just disappear.
Yeah.
And, I think, and again, I wasn't consciously aware of kind of writing to anything, but there's just this. I don't know why I did it as like a sort of double page spread, but it was just this really decompressed double page spread where he's just basically merging with this tree, right? These roots are just kind of, infesting him and kind of pulling him in.
Hmm.
And his son is just kind of standing off to the side, just kind of almost bored. And, he's sitting there kind of, and you see him kind of turning away and kind of coming back. And it's just, and that's a lot of real estate,
Yeah.
for a 30 page one shot. It's a lot of real estate to hand over to it. I don't think anything of it at the time. And then this person got back to me on Twitter back when it was tolerable. And basically said, "Oh, like I just wanted to say that, that really kind of mirrored. I mean, sorry to again, I don't mean to kind of, but it really kind of mirrored the experience that I had losing my mother.
Right.
Mm.
Just, like
Wow.
being in the hospital, and just the thing that I was unprepared for was just the waiting, right? And you and Thomas Naturlik, like the artist, I just wanted you to know, like, I bought a print of that spread because
Yeah.
it means a lot to me. And and it wasn't until like a lot later that, and again, I was just, I was really kind of taken aback and, obviously flattered. That's exactly, again, it's communication, but it wasn't something that I'd intended to communicate, right?
Yeah.
It was just, but then the more I thought about it, I was like, oh yeah, no, that was exactly that was exactly how it was when my grandfather passed, right?
Yeah.
It was just, there comes a point, not in an awful way, but like where this terrible thing's unfolding, and like you're so fried, like all you can do is like watch TV in the waiting
Mm-hmm.
room, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, but that's when it becomes like a conversation.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, that's when I think it becomes, it's, obviously, you can't, I don't think, I mean, you said so yourself, right? Like we all have personas. So
Mm-hmm.
there's always a version of myself that I'm kind of putting out into the world. I'm going to go downstairs when I've finished having this lovely conversation with you, and
Mm-hmm.
to an extent, I'll be a different person because I got to go be a dad, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I think that, like, that's kind. I mean, I know this sounds really kind of like airy and stuff, but like that's kind of the magic. I think in a way is when you go, oh, like this is a real conversation,
Yeah.
and these
Mhm.
things have escaped my control. And like sometimes it's negative as well. Sometimes people see things, they think that you intended things that you didn't, and that's kind of a
Right.
bummer.
Yeah.
But it swings the other way too,
Yeah.
and then sometimes people kind of take things and they it becomes personally meaningful to them in ways that you couldn't possibly have anticipated. And that's amazing. That's like a magic trick.
Yeah, 100%. I have a nephew who has autism, so he's extremely nonverbal. And so around the house, this little lady, Cassandra Kane, has become a
Wow, of course,
tremendous
right?
thing. But I don't think that's why she was created that way, right? I don't think that that was the initial intention behind her, but I think she's found an entire audience in that community because of
Yeah,
the things that she represents and because of the hurdles that she has to, overcome. And again, so crazy that it has escaped possibly its initial intention, or, maybe it was just a cool
Mhm.
character quirk that she didn't speak at the time, but there's an entire subset of society that now
Right.
relates to this character because of that addition, that creative addition, where it didn't need to be. And now she has been welcomed in and, by an entire, like I said, again, a subset of society that sees themselves in her and vice versa. So, was it any fun writing that backup in Rom V's Detective Comics, especially knowing Rom as well as you do?
yeah. I mean, I was really kind of taken aback by the reaction, right? Because I mean, this was before Tate's book, which is fantastic, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think at that point, I think maybe kind of Cass fans were feeling a bit like underserved, maybe.
Yeah.
And it was, it just, I saw it kind of stoke that fire. And there was like a couple days, where, like, like, I'm only human, I like it when people are nice to me. And there was like a couple
Fair.
days when people were being really, really nice to me.
Yeah.
Like that was great. But yeah, no, it was a really, I think, it was one of those where I was, like Ram, uh, because he had like a lot of say over who was going to kind of handle the backups, right? So,
Yeah.
whether it's Sai or Dan, and he was like, do you want to do a few of these? There's a gap coming up. I think, Dan needs to kind of get his breath back. And I was kind of,
Yeah.
do I want, do I
A
want to
backup
appear
in
in
In one of the
Detective
longest
Comics?
running comics
The
in the
longest, yeah,
history of the.
exactly. Uh, just trying to kind of keep my cool. But yeah, no, I think, the thing was, it was just, I was, I didn't have a kind of as long of a run on those. I only had three, but like I was absolutely determined to make like each one like candidly and not in a competitive way at all, just because
Yeah.
like I only have, if I only ever have like three shots on this, like I wanted to like just whip ass like unequivocally.
Yeah.
So like
100%.
I just, like I put like it's not really an exaggeration. Like I put like about three issues worth of work into like each one of those backups. You know what I mean? I was
Yeah.
like just obsessing over like every sentence just to make it like really kind of lyrical. And sorry, I'm just gonna put the blinds, but
No, you're
just
good.
to kind of make it really kind of lyrical and poetic and stuff, and just really kind of go into town.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed it. So, and again, a cast fan. And the thing is, I think some subsets of fans are kind of used to their character being in the background, and we'll see them when we can. It's the unfortunate thing of how many plates can you spin at any given time. But I think just the little bit that you were able to give Cass in this, and it's funny how Tate's take on the book and how big Shiva is in that, but Shiva was in your in those
Yeah.
backup books, and it's such an integral part of her character as well. I just like really, really enjoyed that. I'm gonna
I
hand
mean,
it over to
to the
Alex. I know he
point where
wants to talk some Casey.
oh,
Oh,
sorry,
go ahead, bro.
just real quick, just
Yeah,
to your point, right? Like the phenomenon that you're talking about, right? I've never seen that more acutely than I have in X, right? What
yeah,
so when I started doing X stuff, all these, I got a lot of friends who worked on the sort of Krakoa material, right? So like,
hmm,
Al Ewing, Steve Fox, all those guys. And the thing that they told me, like right off the bat, when they knew that I was going to be, part of the sort of From the Ashes run, right, was they said like, bear in mind it does not matter how minor you think any mutant is, there are going to be at least 10 people who have that person as their AVI, right?
yeah,
And anything that happens to them, it's like it's happening to them. So
yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Like, and no, but it's like
It's
it's a really
true.
good
No,
note. But basically,
I get it. I get it.
yeah, just do not treat any of them as disposable. They are all super important to someone. Be respectful at all times and be aware that like you are a guest. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Yeah,
yeah, I felt the same. I kind of felt the same way with Cass. You know what I mean? It's like you got to tread carefully. You got to take your shoes off,
yeah, yeah,
and you got to have good table manners
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
you're a
Thank you for having
steward, not an
respect.
owner.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, that's kind of leads it into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff, right? Because here you are, you're coming along, and again, you've gotten to work with a lot of great names. And with Ninja Turtles, what was that like to even get that option from Jason Aaron? Was it Jason Aaron that contacted you to be like, hey, do you want to do this Casey Jones side quest story?
No, it was actually it was I was contacted by Dave Wheelgauge, who I'd worked with on Batman. I did a
Oh,
um I did like a sort of 20-page Batman one shot, like Batman versus Black Adam. It's super fun. And it was
yeah.
basically sort of it was when the Black Adam movie was coming out. And
Right,
like
right,
what
the whole
right.
movie?
thing was
What
like
movie?
the
He
Black
tr-
Adam, yeah.
he
The Black
forgets about it. It came and
um
went.
But like the whole conceit of that one, because they were like, okay, so we want you to basically have Batman fight Black Adam. And I thought, well, like, there's no way that's ever going to work unless I have Black Adam power down, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
And so like the whole
Don't
conceit
wait,
is
wait,
like I
wait.
remember
Don't tell Batman fans that. Don't tell Batman.
well, no, but like, but again, I got to invent a new martial art for it that was real fun. I did
That's
this sort of
cool.
thing where it's basically like I think Vandal Savage developed this like martial art that you can only really learn if you're an immortal because it takes so long to learn, and of
Right.
course like Black Adam
Batman,
knows it.
Batman learns it in 3 days.
What not like he knows like I think the way like Talia taught him some like basic stuff,
Right.
Yeah,
but he
yeah,
still
yeah.
like gets his ass kicked like even by
Awesome.
like Black Adam in like human form, and
Yeah.
that was super fun. But
Right.
like Dave, when he moved over to IDW, was working on TMNT, and they were kind of building it out, and so Dan got offered Shredder, and like I talked to
Mhm.
Dan every day, so I knew that had happened, and you know. I want everything that he has. So I was really bummed out. Uh, like so I was really bummed out. And then like a week later, like I got an email from Dave going, "Oh right, so like Dan's doing Shredder. Like, how do you fancy doing Casey?" And like initially, I was nervous because um I didn't think, it's weird. Like I've had like quite an eclectic thing, where like a lot of my stuff is I think quite sort of I you know what I mean? Like I sometimes I can write in quite a lyrical mode, and I think I
Yeah,
was in
yeah,
that
yeah.
sort of phase in my career, and I was
Hmm.
like, I don't know if like I'd done stuff before. I'd
Is
done
it
like
the
a book.
voice? Was it the voice
Yeah,
of Casey?
exactly right.
Yeah.
And then it was the voice, and I didn't know how I could lock in, and I'd already said yes, and I was kind of freaking out, and I was like, how the fuck do I log into this? And I watched The Warriors,
Mm.
Ooh,
right?
yeah,
And I
yeah,
was
yeah.
like, oh, and like it suddenly like hit me like, oh, that's where this comes from, man. Like this,
Can you dig
Yeah, yeah.
but it like the whole thing is sort of like, it's the whole thing comes from like Chud and stuff. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
Chud.
It's like 80s street punks, you know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
Hmm.
Return of the Living Dead. Like that's where Casey comes from. And I was like, okay, I got it. Like I know what to do. Like
Yeah,
I'm just gonna do that and just treat the whole thing as well as like a love letter to like NYC. So like I'm
Yeah,
talking about like pierogi and like pineapple roast pork buns and stuff
yeah,
and just
yeah.
getting to do that. You know what I mean? Just yeah, the whole thing's just like a love letter to New York. And so
yeah,
like once I had that, I was like, okay, like I'm off to the races. I know what to
yeah.
do.
Well, yeah,
That's
that's what I
wicked.
wanted to compliment you on because I didn't research you. I had always known your name when I saw you from All Against All and just following you here and there. I had no idea what you looked like. I didn't know your background. But when I started reading,
And now the
uh,
horrible truth.
yeah, I know
Dun,
it's all a lie.
I look like a
Typical,
thumb.
typical, typical British, just super spy kind of stuff. Yeah. But no, I dig that because it made when I realized we were doing our first, over the Atlantic interview, I
Yeah.
thought you were living in New York because you did such a good job with this book.
Oh man,
And I
thank you for
read
that.
and I read this book on my trip to New York. I read it there
Yeah.
and I
He was
was
in the atmosphere.
I was in the atmosphere. I'm walking around. I'm like, man, this guy gets it. He must live in that apartment right there. And it turns out you don't. You
Dun,
lied to
dun,
me.
dun.
But I love the story. I really like you get the voice of Casey, you get the voice of the turtles. And also the artist you worked with, Aman K. Nahulpan, if I'm butchering it.
Amankai Noelpan, yeah,
Nahulpan. Oh man, the
yeah.
art so good. And this, I talk about touching stories and talk about stories that just meet people where they're at right now. This is a story of migrants. This is a story of people just misplaced and having to find how to live in this new area, and with the constant threat of people taking them places. How did this naturally come to you, or did you literally watch the news and go, "Oh, I know what to do"?
Um, I mean, like candidly, like I think a lot of it's kind of in the water, but like I'll be completely honest, like I mean in terms of all that stuff, like the Mutant Town stuff, like the hard work had all been done for me, right?
Hmm.
This is all, I'm very much a tourist. I'm coming into sort of, existing kind of Turtles lore. Um,
Hmm.
that's been set up. I mean, I think they're approaching like the 300th
Yeah,
issue of the
man.
IDW
Passed.
continuity
They
now.
passed it already.
There you go. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so
No, but
you
see,
know,
here,
it,
I'm not to cut you off. This is how much I want to applaud you for it. I didn't read Turtles. I knew of Turtles because I'm an 80s kid and I
sure.
know of some issues and whatnot, and I knew of the 300th issue and everything. I didn't read Turtles until Jason Aaron was writing Turtles. So to
Wow.
read his run and now to read this, and it made me feel like I was in this world that had been very fleshed out, but at the same time being introduced to it. So you did a great job with that because I
I again, I can't thank you enough. Like, I mean,
stop,
that's
stop,
it,
stop, stop the British modesty. Stop it. Just be
but no, but
you're around New Yorkers right now.
it's a tightrope, right? Because like, I mean, the whole sort of thing about, like info dumping and like expository loads, right? Like
Hmm.
there's a thing that Andy Diggle introduced me to really early on, right? It's Bruce Sterling's the novelist Bruce Sterling, he has something called the Turkey City Lexicon. You can find it online,
Okay.
and it's brilliant, right? It's a directory of sci-fi cliches, right? And it's basically
That's
like
funny.
just things to avoid, like the plague. And like
Yeah.
one of them, I think, is like as you already know, Bob,
Right,
right?
right.
Is
Yeah,
like one of them,
yeah.
and it's literally like, you know, and like you see it like again, and I say this with all the affection in the world, like you see it in like a ton of Bronze Age comics. You know what I mean? Well,
Yeah.
but if
Yeah.
as with my power of flight and super strength, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, come on, like everyone knows that, and
Yeah.
but like there's real skill, um and like I think like again, I mean, and like the way Jason managed to do that, I think in the core title is just incredible. Of like the way of masking exposition, so like you don't know you're being informed because it's
Hmm.
being done
Mhm.
so subtly,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? So like I just viewed that as like a school basically. Like I was just reading like Jason's stuff, just obsessively going, well, like how is he bringing people up to speed without
Mhm.
tipping his hand that they know they're being brought up to speed? You know what I mean? Because you can do a lot with like a line of throwaway dialogue.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just situates people in a kind of time and a place, and you don't necessarily need captions with tons of information. That's the trick, right?
Right.
Yeah. You can't start every comic off with three maps, a
No.
legend,
Yeah.
a
No, and
scroll, and
no,
stuff like that. It gets to be a lot
I
sometimes.
my knowledge of Casey Jones going to the series was he got his ass
The
kicked a
movie.
couple times in the movies, you know, and the little bit that he's in the Jason Aaron series, because in the Jason Aaron series he gets his ass kicked, and he gets his ass kicked so hard he gets his own series.
Yeah.
So and that's where
That's
you
how
take
that's
it.
how it works, right? Like you
Yeah.
get your ass kicked hard enough, and like they take pity on you, and give you
Yeah.
your own book.
Yeah.
And no, and
100%.
so I'm reading this because and I'm loving it, and I'm loving. I was talking to George before you interrupted us by showing up on time, but we appreciate that. And we were talking, telling him like I love the fact that the main villain's henchman, the leopard, he's this villain who is a villain, and I love that. I miss the days of true villainy. I'm tired of the trope. Talking about tropes of recent times that every villain is a villain because their dad smacked them, or their mom didn't take care of them, or he's an adopted kid, or something like that. No, man, some people are just evil, just some.
Some
So I
animals are just.
like, yeah, you know what I mean? So with this guy, I can feel like beside his handler is definitely the evil villain. But with the leopard, he's choosing to be evil and just kind of embracing it because he's mutating, right?
Well, he's sort of so like he has this whole thing where if he doesn't take this chemical, he will like revert into an animal,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And
And but
so,
like he's so kind of but he has that kind of he's like absolutely infatuated with humanity, right? To the point
mhm,
Yeah.
where like he wears like these like crisp suits and stuff, and like
mhm,
listens to jazz, and like he like
right,
but he assumes that he's welcome in human company, but like the moment he leaves the room, like they all start talking shit about him. You know what
right,
I mean? Like it's that like he's never kind of embraced into that kind of, and like that's the kind of tragedy I think of the character is like
right.
he's he's desperate to be accepted by these truly evil people, and
Yeah.
when really he's doing their kind of dirty work for them.
Yeah.
Right.
Not that that doesn't reflect on anything going on currently in
No,
the
right,
world.
and the best part, and the other side of that, you got Casey, who's just trying to save this kid's father, but constantly running into him, not realizing his motivation. He's thinking you're just the bad guy, but yet he has this real motivation behind him that, like you said, is tragic. But I don't see it as completely tragic because he's choosing that. He's choosing
Yeah,
to try to become part of that evil humanity, whereas he's in the face of the good humanity. This guy who's trying to save this kid's father. But they never share those words like, hey, by the way, I'm doing this because if I don't, I'll mutate. By the way, Casey's like, I I'm just here to save this guy. I gotta go.
but there is a kind of there's a kind of crossover, right? Which is that
Yeah.
Casey's conflict, like in the whole series, right, is that he thinks, so Ludovic, the sort of snow leopard character,
Mhm.
like he aspires to humanity, right? Like that's his thing. Um, Casey's anxiety throughout the whole book, right, is like I'm too human, like I'm too weak.
Mhm.
If
Yeah.
I was like Raph, like I'd
Right.
kick this guy's ass and I'd be fine. I
Right.
need an edge.
Right.
So his whole thing is, so they kind of they sort of meet each other in the middle,
Mhm.
and there's,
Yeah.
uh, game
And I,
recognized game kind of thing. And
exactly. And I love the conversations. I love that even the turtles recognize, hey, Raph, you're the one who met him first. And for me, there's that classic first interaction in the first movie that I think even Don loves to relate him. You playing cricket? You don't play,
Yeah.
where Don always loves to talk about how Raph is the only one that has a New York accent.
Yeah, they're all surfers, but except for Raphael for some reason, who's a middle-aged Italian man in New
Hey, and
York.
that and for me, I'm of Latin descent, but people constantly go, "You're Italian." I go, "Why you think that, huh?"
Hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, get out of
Hey,
here.
but I can't help it sometimes. So I love that their interaction that like the turtles recognize, hey man, you Raph, you got to go talk to him to calm him down. But just like any good friendship, one conversation doesn't do it, right? You kind of,
Sure.
hey, let's do it this way, let's do it this way, and I'm really really enjoyed this series, and I I got the first 6 issues. Does it go much longer, or is that
No,
it?
that's it. Like that's it was solicited for six, so we
Okay.
got six.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And uh the so Amonkai, who that I worked with on that Batman one shot, like
Mhm.
he worked on he did the Casey book. And I think he's back at DC now doing the kind of the Barbara Gordon book, I think.
Yeah, breakout,
Oh,
right?
the breakout. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Breakout, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's
He's
it's
he's
it's
he's amazing.
the first issue already went to second print.
There you go. Nice way to get it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well,
There we
hey,
go.
that's we got to get all against all and all these Casey Jones books into second and third printings too.
No, no, it'll happen. It'll happen. It's interesting though that you bring up this whole thing with the snow leopard about almost being a, I guess, species traitor maybe is the word I want to use in the idea that he wants to kind of be human, but like you said again, there's a he aspires to earn their respect and be amongst them, but they wouldn't spit on him if he was on fire. And I feel like there's a little bit of that with the Reavers that you dealt with in Cyclops, where it's like they're completely down for the cause, but at any moment their higher up will junk them, will rip
They junk each other.
yeah, to rip whole augmentations away from them. It's just a interesting narrative of people who choose to operate in hate or operate in a superiority, sort of way, and not realizing that the people that they are to the left or right of them probably could care less about them if something bad were to happen to them or anything were to change in the status quo where they become lesser or, not part of the in group anymore. They just get discarded. And I think that's
I mean,
something
I
that we're
think
seeing happen now.
in groups is probably a better, like for me anyway. Like is
Yeah.
like I'm more comfortable articulating in those terms because
Yeah.
like obviously there are for very obvious reasons, right? Like there are um dynamics and politics that it I could not that I cannot and I should not speak to, right? Like
Yeah.
I have no right. But in groups, yeah, I was talking in both, with the Ludovic character and yes, with the Reavers, I was thinking about in-group hierarchies and how in-group hierarchies operate. And I think also, but also the fact that, and again, it's a cliche, but I think these are cliches that are kind of visible around us, right? Like I think
Hmm.
they're very kind of, some cliches are cliches because there's something to it.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
it's that, that and again, I mean, I know this is hugely reductionist, but again, I think we can see it all around us, right? Is
Yeah.
um, hate principally hates itself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Hate principally hates itself because um, if you're comfortable in your own skin, you tend not to, right?
Right.
Like it speaks to an inadequacy, right? Like it's just whenever any sort of scapegoat mechanism is kind of triggered, um, it always means that, your personal failures are projected onto others.
Any sort of situation that's main point is that it needs to divide. That has no space. And
Yeah.
again, like I think there's so much insidious, either whether it be media or any of that kind of stuff, the ads, X in and of itself, such insidious things that are already doing that stuff that the common person doesn't need to pour gasoline on the fires that are already created by corporations that
Yeah.
make money off of this kind of stuff, which is why I go back to comics being something that connects us when everything else is almost actively trying not to. And you had spoke a bit about, finding your voice with Casey, but even though the cog is adverse to digital comics, you had an incredible run of Infinity Comics with the X-Men, and you got to play with so many characters. Was there any character that you just couldn't wait to write? And was there a character that you were a bit hesitant as you were with Casey Jones, in the sense of like, I'm not too sure I can touch this one. I don't know if I have the voice, or even to another level, I don't know if I can handle the fandom of if I had to write for, anyone in particular.
Um, Interesting question.
Yeah.
And like not, I'm not like hesitating. I'm just genuinely. I mean, it's a while ago now. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
the first one I did was sort of during Krakoa actually, and that was Maggot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was given free reign, right? So, the editor I was working with, Lauren Amaro, good friend of mine, just said like, "Who do you want? You can have anyone you want, but just bear in mind, if you're gonna do Wolverine, like, you got to kind of you can't
Yeah.
do anything kind of pivotal, right? But you can, within reason, you can have anyone you want." And I just went, "Maggot, I want Maggot,"
Yeah.
because like no, like just such a kind of just such a compelling you know what I mean, uh a real a really interesting mutation with
Yeah.
facet, like, because he's got like two sentient kind of weevils in his stomach that can eat anything
Right.
and basically power him up with like an energy discharge. Like
Yeah.
it's incredible.
He's
um
one. He's one of my favorite characters. So please
yeah,
continue.
so good, so good. And so I was champing at the bit to get to get a chance to kind of work with Maggot. The other one, I think, again, just because, and it's not because I think he'd been like ill served or anything, but just because, um, like I read like a lot of Russian stuff,
Yeah.
and like I thought, man, like I got like a really good like Omega Red year one in me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they let me do that, and that was incredible. Like I loved every second of it because, like, again, I could really kind of address the sort of finer detail. Like, I mean, I the bit I'm proudest of, weirdly, like in that whole run, was like when they tried to like induct him into the Russian mafia.
Yeah.
And I read this thing where like they gave him like Bratvar tattoos, but
Yeah.
his healing factor just pushed him straight out,
Push the
so
ink
it just
right out.
leaked everywhere.
Yeah.
Just like detail like that. I was like, well, right. I don't normally kind of pat myself on the back, but I was like, no, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Um, so like that was a ton of fun. In terms of like trepidation, I mean, again, what one it's I found like the fans were really kind of uh accepting, I think, of what I was trying to do. I think like there was, I think we can say this now, sort of, however many kind of months hence or whatever. Like there was some skepticism over Sentinels, and like I understand it,
Hmm.
because it was, like a lot of the sort of initial responses seemed to be, well, like, why am I reading the bad guy book?
Right.
Um, to the point where, we had a discussion sort of editorially, myself, Darren Shan, Tom Brevoort, about basically just putting an editorial in the first issue, just basically saying like, look, I get it, but like this is not this is not the same as an endorsement, right?
Yeah.
Depiction is not endorsement.
Right.
Right.
Um, and I think that hopefully that did sort of a lot to sort of allay like a lot of people's fears. But like that was, I mean, again, I mean, I feel like if I'm sort of circling a theme, particularly in my recent work, hopefully not to get too kind of pretentious about it, but it is like I think I'm very interested in like the banality of evil, like
Yeah.
the just how boring evil is, you
Yeah.
know?
It's
Uh
not cackling in
like
the corner like this, with extravagant plans and all this other kind of stuff.
yeah,
It's
like
the little
it's
stuff.
drawing a paycheck when your job is sick. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like that was like the Sentinels thing, I think was, because that was kind of what I said sort of in like the initial meetings was, because the idea was kind of brought to me and it was kind of, well, like, how would you do it? And the thing that I cottoned onto, like I was really inspired by a Marvel, like an 80s Marvel book, an excellent one called Strike Force Morituri.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and so
That's a weird one.
but like Sentinels were directly inspired
Yeah.
by it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like
I can see
a lot,
that.
like yeah, some folks like picked up on it. But this idea of like disposable soldiers, you know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
Um, and or who treat themselves badly and in turn are kind of treated as cannon fodder by their kind
Hmm.
of superiors. But it was just this idea that like we've seen depictions of like and anti-mutant zealots, right? That's
Yeah.
usually the prism, right? Is these are like fanatics and like they viscerally hate mutants and they'll do anything to wipe them out. And I was like, the one thing, I mean, again, any X fan, they're so they'll be able to give you chapter and verse, and we're like, actually in like X-Men 143, you'll see,
Right,
but
right, right.
certainly, like I one thing I hadn't seen a lot of was just this idea of like almost like plot punches. So
Yeah.
this idea that like these are people who do terrible things, and then like I find it weirdly like even scarier. Like these people who do
Hmm.
like terrible things, and like they don't particularly feel anything one way or another. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
they go home and they go home like they have a steak dinner and they forget about it. That's
Yeah.
scarier to me.
It's interesting because, I joined the military right out of high school.
Sure.
And I did 2.5, I did 4.5 years. I did two tours overseas. And so I'm reading this book and it's very much speaking to me because I remember, that job, especially when you're overseas, you have to be hyper vigilant. Like any noise,
Sure.
any sort of alarm, you have to be on top of your stuff. And that serves no purpose when you're back in civilian life. And so I was having this inability to sleep and stuff. And I go to, the VA and they're like, okay, what pills do you want? And I'm like, what do you mean? What pills do I want? Like, do you want to like talk this through or whatever? And they're like, well, we can give you like antidepressants, we can give you sleeping pills, we can give you. And so like I'm listening to this like mood regulator talk in the comic, right? Where it's like, hey, just take this thing to get past your silly human, traumas and do the job that we're paying you to do, kind of stuff. That rang true to me as something very clear that happens. And again, not disposable in the sense that we, are broken apart for our parts, but there's constantly anywhere on the news you hear about how veterans are treated and how the VA treats them and all that kind of stuff. That's as discarded as it can be when once you're done with the mission or once you're done doing the government's most likely dirty work, that there's no place for you after that. They've molded you into something that they needed to that may not fit society once they're done using you. And that really rang true to me when I'm dealing with these sentinels because at the time, going overseas, doing whatever they told me to do, I was a young kid in Brooklyn who couldn't afford to leave Brooklyn until the military let me. So that little bit of access they gave me to the rest of the world, I felt indebted to, right? Like it's the same, they were dealing with a bunch of some paraplegics in Sentinels, and they get a second lease on life through having these augmentations. And so they may feel a little bit indebted to, Trask and, the entire program for letting them do that, which then allows them the permission structure to do very terrible things, and they don't realize how far that slips sometimes. And some people really don't have that cognitive dissonance to understand, how their decisions can end up coming to some real evils, like you were saying. But that didn't seem false and that didn't seem like overly propaganda. This idea of disposable soldiers, as someone who's lived that life, it felt very true to life.
Uh, I gotta say, like, I mean, that's probably the most generous reading of it I've ever heard.
Oh.
So I mean, a lot of the stuff that you just said, I I would say like I in, I did intend for some of that to resonate in the sort of
Hmm.
direction that you sort of outlined. Uh, so I don't know. I'm a bit speechless to be honest. So thank you. Like no,
No,
genuinely. Like
no,
I mean,
100%.
particularly um, having having served. I mean, it means a lot to me that it kind of spoke to you. Genuinely, like thank you for that.
No,
Did
100%.
you serve?
Sorry.
Did you serve?
I'm a couch potato, dude. Uh,
Well, we all become that way. But yeah, I
No,
know
it's
plenty of
funny.
couch
I'm like,
potatoes.
I couldn't do half the stuff I did at my 20s. I'm like, how did I do any of that? What's going on,
uh,
bro?
Well,
no,
I
like
just think that how can you write military stuff so well? If did you study this? Do you have friends, family that are in the military? Just
yeah, I mean, I have friends. I did, like I try to do as much homework as I can. But I was also like, I mean, I don't even know if I have it. Weirdly, like, I mean, I'm used to speaking about it in a certain way, and I did forget that I was re that I did like, I read like a bunch of like, accounts, like
Hmm.
first-hand accounts as well from like Iraq and Afghanistan and stuff. I mean, I
Yeah.
was trying to sort of go for like again within reason and without hope for like not to put define a point on it, like not trying to bum people out too much.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah. Yeah. That's a fine
But
line
just
to
tr
walk.
yeah, but like trying to striving for as much kind of authenticity. And who also helped me a bunch, genuinely, I forgot this, was PKJ.
Ah,
Um,
oh, Phil.
PKJ, like, I mean, yeah, like he, I got on a couple Zooms with him. Like he kind of went over some of those scripts with like a fine-tooth comb as well, just to kind of make sure that
Mhm.
it kind of resonated and that it sort of,
Yeah,
hung together and that, I wasn't kind of, you know, I wasn't doing a disservice
right.
to anybody,
Yeah, he knows a
he's a
little something about the military.
yeah.
Little
We spoke.
something,
We
yeah.
got to speak to him. He's a great guy.
He's a
Seems to
great
be
guy.
a really a great part of the collaborative process over there, at Marvel. I
Which
spoke about. Go ahead, brother.
no,
Yeah.
well, because that's what I'm getting excited about with you, Alex, is you have all these connections. I know Marvel is about to do some major changes. Where are you going to be in these changes?
Um, Candidly, like genuinely, like I would tease something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know. I mean, I've got I have an iron in the fire that I'm sort of doing my very best to kind of get to sort of stoke to a sort of to sort of spitting.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But apart from that, yeah, like yeah, I don't know. I mean, Cyclops did very well. I know that
Yeah.
much.
Mhm.
Um,
Well
so
deserved, by the way. Well deserved.
thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, like I mean, it felt like a real sort of vindication as well because like they didn't. It was the first like they didn't come to me with it. I came to them with it.
Yeah.
And Darren Shan, the editor that I kind of developed it with, and again, like I mean, you say like I have these I just name drop a ton, but like it's like clang, like but it's these are just things that happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
No,
They're in
no,
the
so
ecosystem.
I'll do it
and
again.
right, no, no, I'm not saying you do it in the way of I think you do it very
Classy.
with yeah, classy and just nonchalant. Like the way I would say, oh yeah, me and George went to the pub and we got a beer. You're
Yeah,
mentioning
it's
Yeah,
just
these
part of your
guys like
ecosystem. These people are
right.
just part of your
Dan
ecosystem
lives
at this
across the
point.
street from you, you know.
yeah.
Ron V was a drinking buddy. I get
That's
it.
pretty cool. That's pretty
And
cool.
that's why
Taylor
I'm
Swift
sitting
lives in my attic. Yeah,
Yeah, there
like
you go.
yeah.
There you go.
Well, no, she wants to move into Madison Square Garden with Kelsey, apparently. That's a whole thing.
Yeah, there you
So,
go.
but yeah, so I can imagine because the success of Cyclops, because this series was amazing. I was hoping to hear news of, oh, it's been extended to a 12 issue series because it's so good. And I because it's so good, You did such a good job. Cyclops, he's been around for like a couple days. So
Yeah.
whose run did you most draw your inspiration for Cyclops from?
It's going to sound like a cop out, and it probably is, but I did so much kind of biographical reading around. Like it was one of those kind of it was like an iceberg book, right?
Hmm.
In the sense that I feel like I sort of synthesized like a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like this what if that I've just done as well. Like I think I read like 100 books to get a one shot just to make
Yeah.
sure that all the kind of loose
Yeah,
ends
yeah,
tied
yeah,
up.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but this Cyclops one, it was just kind of trying to get a handle on the character, right? And so I mean I loved the the sort of the Bendis young Cyclops stuff. Like I thought that
Hmm.
that
Ooh.
like there was a lot of that in there, just kind of trying to kind of
Hmm.
ground him because you go back to the sort of 60s stuff and it's great. But I think that, and I think this is kind of true for certain characters. You go back to the 60s and like Ben Grimm is Ben Grimm almost from the jump, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't think Scott Summers is Scott Summers from the
No.
jump, you know? So, it takes a while for that to kind of, it takes a while for that to kick in. And I think, you really start sort of hitting your stride with kind of Claremont, right? In terms of this idea as I sort of described him elsewhere as he's like a walking hydrogen bomb,
Hmm.
Yeah.
and he has to be. I mean, your Superman thing. I hadn't drawn the kind of Superman comparison, but like I think if anything, like that's weirdly because I'd always kind of not always, but I came to view him almost as like in the way that like Bruce Banner functions as the Hulk's jailer,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he has this responsibility. It's almost like an alcoholic, you know what I mean? Like a recovering alcoholic is like
Yeah.
his job is to keep the Hulk locked up.
Right.
Yeah.
Scott Summers' job, I think, is to keep Scott Summers locked up
Yeah.
Right.
because he's so dangerous, right?
Yeah.
And like that's kind of the seat of his that's the seat of his power, and I think it's the seat of his character. So I think like the Rucker stuff as well, like I thought was
Yeah.
tremendous. Um, where I sort of the inspiration for the story, I think I've mentioned it kind of elsewhere, but I mean really it was it's a really kind of simple, and I don't necessarily mean that like pejoratively. Simple is good, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that's taken me like 10 years to learn.
Yeah.
Um, but really going in, right? Like the above the line kind of pitch is like, what if you did a Wolverine story with Cyclops? Like you've seen if you pick up the book, if you pick up Cyclops, if you replaced him with Wolverine, you've seen that story a thousand
Thousand
times.
times. Last
Hmm.
week.
Yeah.
Um, but if you put Cyclops into that, right? If you put a guy who is, I don't think of him as a control freak. I think he's someone who is by necessity obsessed with control. Because if he
Yeah.
loses control, you know what I mean? Like he
Right.
takes out Pittsburgh.
Right.
Yeah.
Um,
Real quick, another thing about that is like, as somebody who had a loving but tumultuous childhood, when you can't control those factors when you're young, you almost over control the factors when you're older. As like an idea of
Mhm.
trying to hold on to any sort of semblance of control. I think that's almost an overcorrection that happens when you're young and you don't have the autonomy to, and you're just kind of thrown around, in all these experiments. And I love that it started with the whole idea of his childhood, your Cyclops run, because you have to know who that man was as a child and what he dealt
Yeah.
with as a child. Because I think a lot of people think because of how he is presented currently that everything was, sunshine and rainbows for Scott, and thus that's why he, stands up straight and stuff. And it's like, no, it's despite all those things that has
Mhm.
happened to him that he's trying his best to control his future because he had no control over his past or over his youth.
I mean, I think like you've nailed it. You've really nailed it. And if you look at, and again, I say this with all the love in the world, but just how kind of chaotic Alex is, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, you
literally
know,
havoc, like
yeah,
quite
right.
literally havoc. Yeah,
And he's the guy who doesn't have a big gun in his face.
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Um, but like Scott, but like what I thought was really interesting as well, just kind of going back through the sort of like through the sort of geological strata of all of this lore, right? Is you don't really have access to them before to the brothers, at least not to any great extent, before the plane crash, right? Before they're kind
Yeah.
of bundled out of that
Mhm.
that plane, and uh, the parents, are taken by the Shi'ar and all that kind of stuff. So before that, you don't really have any kind of insight into who they are. And like, I just had this kind of in this like head canon that
Hmm.
I just kind of kept top of mind the whole time I was writing it was like, what if like before that plane crash, Alex was the good kid and Scott was the brat?
I could see
There's
that.
nothing to contradict it.
No.
But like basically like everything about him being as obsessed with control as he is basically because control was taken away from him at a really young age, and he's almost got a metaphor for it in his face,
Yeah.
right? He can't escape it. um but there's nothing to suggest that before that, like, he wasn't the kid who kind of goes out into the yard and, like, you know what I mean, like, just sets fire to stuff. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. I think it colors the character more interesting. Because I had read, and we even posted about your take on the love triangle, and I thought it was so interesting, and that now I've been kind of aping it in conversation because I think it's so interesting to see it in like a sense of like or of what Jean Grey wants versus what Jean Grey, sort of needs. And I even, extrapolate this idea that at the end of the night, Logan is probably more susceptible to a deep conversation after a couple beers than Scott is sometimes. Like he might
Mhm.
actually be more emotionally available to Jean in ways that Scott isn't, and then vice versa. You would look to you people would on the surface look and say, "Oh, she's with Wolverine because he's a wild man, he's unpredictable and all that stuff." And I think no, Jean has a bead on Logan. It's Scott that actually has this wild streak in him that is enticing to her because it's underneath the surface and she can see it, she knows of it, especially if she can read his mind, right? And I never had that perspective before you placed it in talking about this love triangle, and I find it fascinating because I do think that there are flourishes of what you said throughout their entire history.
I think no, I think you're right. I mean, again, it was, I mean, I provided a lot of, that was an interview I did like a week or so ago when
Hmm.
I provided like a lot of detail because I really didn't want to be kind of misunderstood.
Yeah,
And because no, because like these, certainly within the fandom, like these are really kind of like emotive topics, right?
yeah. Hmm.
Um, but I think it like there's a difference, right, between a formulation that serves you as a platform for story, right?
Hmm.
I mean, that was kind of how I was kind of trying to articulate. I don't think maybe I didn't put it very well, but I was just kind of trying to say, that dynamic is by no means authoritative, right? Like again, it's not something that I'm convinced is like the only read.
Yeah,
It's just for me, like to tell stories, that is the dynamic that feels most propulsive
yeah.
and
Most
just
interesting.
dramatic, inherently
Yeah, yeah.
dramatic, right? But
100%.
no, like genuinely, like hand to God, like I don't think like that's the only way they can be read, like at all.
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I'm not yucking anyone's yuck. You know?
Right, right. But I just thought that that was such a tried and true sort of thing. This is people joke around online. I know you've been tagged and stuff. This is going to be the year of Scott Summers in a lot of different
Yeah,
ways. He's coming back in Avengers Doomsday. He's been included in things like Marvel Rivals. I know he's in the fighting game as well. I think he might be on Fortnite. I'm not sure. I don't play. And then your series here. How has the
and
reaction?
X-Men 97, X-Men
Oh, and,
97
and
as well.
X-Men 97.
I was
And
about to say that.
I
Yeah.
would say that coming out, the first season of that did a lot of good PR for Scott Summers in a
That
way
first
that
that
I don't
first
think.
that first scene when he saves Roberto da Costa.
Yeah,
and
and the
he's with the
plane,
weight
and he has
just
to shoot
oh, in the
down from the
plane. That's
plane.
right.
Like
It's
it's
just
so much good PR came from that, and Cyclops fans were eating off of that before you were presented such a brilliant series here. How has the reaction been from Cyclops fans online? Have you that you can speak to?
Well, I feel like they kind of carried the book to where it was to where it got to, right? Like, I mean, it would, it would be, and again, I don't think this is like overly modest or effect or even like affectedly modest. Like, we just got some really like weird wind in our sails, right? So, um, the book was announced, and even like based on the cover images, like I was genuinely like I was really kind of taken aback by how much engagement it was getting. I'm used to some engagement, you
Yeah,
know, and that's always very nice, and people are very kind, and what have you. Um, but it was like the first time where I was kind of going, these are doing numbers that I haven't seen before. And I don't monitor that stuff because I think that way like madness lies, but it's
yes,
very weird to watch that ticker go like,
well, no,
one
I
hundred
thousand,
mean,
two
percent.
thousand, three
it's
thousand.
a
What is happening?
it's a testament to good writing. I mean, because
No,
I've seen I,
like, but that's what I'm saying. Like, they hadn't
It,
seen any of my writing. It
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
genuinely like, I mean,
I
these were, these were just like cover images, just absolutely like incredible cover images, right? And
Yeah.
people just responding to them viscerally. And I think, it's, it's like a testament to just the kind of the artistry of them. That you just, I mean, that's the weird thing. Like, the first issue, it's just Cyclops crouched in a sort of animal-like position, like in a jungle. And
Yeah.
I feel like a ton of people were just like, I know what this book is.
Right, right,
Like
right.
straight away, it's just instantly evocative, right? And that's nothing to do with me. Um, and then, the book starts kind of grinding up, and I'm doing my best. I'm kind of calling retailers, just going, look, I think it's going to be kind of special. Please take a chance on it. Please, please, please.
Yeah.
Reaching out to as many outlets, as many podcasts as would have me. And, they were really, really kind. Um, but then in the last week before pre-order cutoff, before FOC, like the Doomsday trailer dropped, and like it was just, I mean, it was sort of serendipitous in the same way that, like, I mean, you know like Denny's got to kind of ride the kind of the RDJ announcement for Doctor Doom for Ultimates, right? Like, he
100%.
just like, all of a sudden there's just this kind of like this
I
tsunami
remember
of like
I remember him
popularity.
saying, I remember tweeting like, if you want to know why RDJ is Doctor Doom, read Ultimates number 4.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And like I started doing, like, I started like using that image in like a lot of my kind of like social, because like, why not, right? Like, it's,
100%.
and just please pick up,
Yeah.
Cyclops number one. But we just got this like last minute like shot in the arm, and it just kind of like slingshotted it like above where it was kind of supposed, not where it was supposed to go, but like slingshotted
Where it
it
could have ended
like
up. Yeah.
above expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, like it dropped, and again, I will allow myself this I mean, particularly, Roger and Fur. I mean, obviously, we had a
Amazing.
kind of killer, like imminent level, like art team. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought I kind of held up my end on the writing kind of like pretty
You did.
well.
Yeah.
And like it yeah like it just it just kind of it popped for people in a way that I just wasn't expecting. But I'm kind of eternally grateful that it did. It was just like, again, just a kind of combination of, yeah, like, I'll allow myself like good book, great timing. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. And
as
it's
you
just
say,
it's happenstance
summer of
like that.
summers.
Yeah, I have found that the two biggest things in this industry are collaboration and luck. Those are the two things that carry the day. You gotta hope that you have good people around you, and you gotta hope that just everything kind of lines up the way they do. Before we wrap this up, can you tell me a little bit about White Noise? What made you want to be a part of this sort of creative collective?
It was weird. Like, we were all very green. so I think we put it together maybe 2015.
Okay.
Um, you know, like um and we all just we just because I knew Dan early doors because Titan Comics put us together to co-write an Assassin's Creed book.
Yes. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yep. 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 Yep.
Nice.
So we knew each other, and like he introduced me to Ram. So MCM, I would say, I mentioned like, it's one of the it's that's the closest equivalent probably to like that's like London's like San Diego, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And like Ram introduced me, and he was kind of he introduced me to Ram, and Ram said, "Oh, do you mind sort of look?" He'd hate me for telling you this, but like it's great. He was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
do you mind looking at my portfolio? Because at the time, like I had published work, and I think he was still putting Black Mamba together, which was like
Yeah.
the first book he
Hmm.
did while he was sort of in the UK. And I just looked at it, and I just remember looking at this stuff. And like genuinely, like hand to God, I was like, "You're already better than me. I can't tell you anything. Off you go." It was just
Yeah.
great. But we were talking, and I was like, and like and I was going, man, like this stuff is beautiful. Like the artists that you're working with are incredible in this anthology. Like this is like it might have been Anand or maybe it was Dev, but I was like, man, this really reminds me of like Steve Bissett. And like Steve Bissett's wife was like right behind us and went, "Excuse me," and like, do you mind? Yeah, and it all just kind of and Ryan and I as well. Like Ryan and I, we almost had a snafu because the follow up that I did to Arcadia was a book called Turncoat, and
Hmm.
he'd written a book called Turncoat, and we had this kind of awkward thing that turned out to like not be awkward at all. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, I'll just change it then. I don't give a shit.
Right. Huh.
Um, so we just so we just changed it, and yeah, like we all just we've all got a very sort of similar sense of humor, and it was interesting kind of how it came together because like I tend to fall in love with people like really really quickly. So when it
Yeah.
was first mooted, I was like, okay, so we're all gonna like put money into a common fund, and like we're all gonna like do it like we're going to be like super kind of democratic about it and fund each other's books and all this stuff. And
Right.
like Ram, who's got like a business background, was like, if we do that, we will despise each other within 6 months.
Yeah. Money,
Uh,
man.
yeah, don't do that. Like what it is basically like it's as simple as, and don't get me wrong, like everyone's got their own relationships and everything. We don't always use it, but like it's just a layer of like quality control before anything kind of goes out the door, and you
That's
get to
awesome.
workshop ideas, you know what I mean? Like I'm like there's I don't want to kind of like there are like bits of us in each other's books, where we've
Yeah.
basically
Yeah.
provided
That makes
like if
sense.
someone's kind of trying to get past a story hump,
Yeah.
you'll kind of and like the sort of the unspoken rule is that like unless you're dying, you know what I mean? Like whatever else you're doing, you kind of drop it.
Yeah.
Um, and so, with some of us sort of spread around the world, we're all sort of taking like Zooms at like weird and wonderful times now. But but it's great, and it's we every now and then, we kind of pair off. So like I'm doing a little thing with Ram at the moment, but like
Awesome.
Ram's just come off the one hand, the six fingers with Dan.
With Dan, that was
Hmm.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
right. I
It
mean,
was so good.
yeah, I mean, an incredible book. And while they were there, kind of, because they ended up sort of winning an Eisner for it, and I'm sat like,
They want a what?
yeah,
I mean,
clang,
hey, you got
literally
it.
clang,
You
literally
under
clang.
good job. You finally got my sarcasm.
But literally like as that's happening, with all the kind of thing and everything, like I'm literally like we got our group chat going, and I'm just going like Eisner wankers.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and I think there's also an element of that as well. Like, like we kind of keep each other a bit kind of grounded as well. So yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
it's great there. Uh among my best friends, and
That's
I
awesome.
love them dearly, and they've got me out of quite a few scrapes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, well, and with that, tell us about your soon to be Eisner nominated What If issue that's going to come up.
Yeah, we got What
Oh,
If Secret Wars #1 is coming out July 1st, 2026. What can we expect without too many spoilers?
uh, I would say the thing you can expect is the most exorbitant work to product ratio in human history. Like
Okay, okay.
the amount of comics I read and like annotated and like
Right,
synthesized in order to produce a single one shot where all of the storylines from the Ultimate Universe have some sort of consistent payoff.
right.
It's like I thought it was gonna be it's like oh like I'll just have to reread Secret Wars and I'll be good. No. Yeah, it was
That's funny. I'm
crazy.
assuming right off
Um
camera is a conspiracy wall with red string pointing from character to universe to story arc to.
Yeah, like 100%, and because like I'm also that guy, right? Like I quite like continuity stuff.
Yeah,
I find it fun, like dancing between the raindrops.
Oh boy.
Um, and this was like a lot of fun to write, but it was so crazy, just like making like, and the funny thing is as well, like don't get me wrong, like I'm not saying anybody, like nobody like owes me. Um, nobody like owes me a charitable reading of the thing. You know what I mean?
right,
Nobody
right.
owes me like but it's there's a weird sort of satisfaction just in terms of like there's like 100. It takes I basically put like 100 issues in a juicer. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
No, I
like
mean
this kind of
the
this hyper
secret
concentrated thing came out.
Secret
It's
Wars was huge. It was a massive event.
Yeah, and then
yeah,
having to pull from both universes can't be easy. But like you said, like maybe not a charitable review, but if anyone had any sort of inclination that this was something you wrote in your sleep, where you weren't really paying attention to the details, we can squash that right now. You have done all the necessary research to make this be a satisfying book for those who are entirely fearful of the breaking of continuity with some of these bigger
Yeah, and
things.
I have the bags under my eyes and the resting blood pressure of John Belushi, like
Nice.
to kind of
Right, right, right.
to kind
So
of like
now,
prove it.
so you talked about like being in contact with, the white noise guys and whatnot. Did you ask Jonathan Hickman for help with this?
I did not. I did not. I've met him once.
Hmm.
He's employed me once.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, like and no, I mean I'll be honest with you, like I would have been, I think, probably too intimidated to do so.
That's
Um
fair.
I mean I could probably scare up his email, but we're not tight or anything.
No, no, I
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
But it just seems
No,
like
no,
you have
no.
such
Like, no,
reverence.
it's a very fair question, and I tried to be as respectful as I could. I mean, one thing I think to probably do straight off the bat is like define what it is, right? Is because it's kind of it's a bit of a strange one because what if Secret Wars is kind of
dot
like
dot
it's
dot.
very open ended,
Yeah, it feels like an
like
incomplete sentence.
there's like the whole conceit is basically like it's what if the it's what if the ultimate unit the original ultimate universe survived Secret Wars intact. So like it did survive Secret Wars. Like you saw it in Venom. I think you saw it in like some in ASM.
Hmm,
So
Yeah,
hmm.
it
it's
does still sort of exist.
Spider-Man 2.
Yes,
So,
Spider-Man 2. Yeah. So, it was part of it's part of like Reed Richards' Eighth
mhm.
Cosmos.
Yeah.
Right.
But like I took a different track with this. So this is basically like
Mm.
what if it kind of continued like uninterrupted? Like so it's sort of that. So, we pick up from Secret Wars and there's the Ultimate Universe. Like what does it look like? Um and excuse me. Um it was really interesting just kind of going back and sort of look because that universe um it felt very much in conversation with um, a certain era, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Um,
Hmm.
it felt very much in conversation with, you know, like War on Terror and stuff. You know, it was very much
Yeah.
in
Right.
conversation with a lot of that. And so again, you know, it's not an essay. It's a story. I hope it's a very clean, very entertaining story. But it was almost kind of like looking back on that era and sort of mixing them together, if that
Yeah.
makes sense, and just kind of going, well, what conclusions can we draw from that era now?
Right.
And almost like
Yeah.
imposing them, you know,
I,
on
I didn't I didn't realize how
a lot of
much
the kind
of
of
that.
economic assumptions as well, you know, like, you know,
Yeah.
the you know, this you know, a gravy train that we thought was going to be endless and stuff, and you know.
Yeah. I didn't realize how much of the old Ultimate stuff was like military industrial complex, Patriot Act, all that kind of stuff until we went back and we covered it. And that almost gave this new Ultimate Universe the task of doing the same thing, of kind of mirroring what's going on outside. So it had to have been very interesting to read back on some of those things and how the world felt about a lot of that, interventionism and all that kind of stuff going on, and translating it to now where we live in very different times, and I think we speak to each other in very different ways. So it had to have been a bit
Well,
of a
but we're
challenge
still
to me.
living through the consequences of it, right?
A
Like, I mean,
hundred
it's
percent.
it's
Yeah.
a different time, but it's very much kind of, you know, everything, the seeds of everything we're going through now were planted then.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like I think it's really interesting that we had, like, as you say, like a whole new kind of ultimate universe to kind of um and I think like a more optimistic one, perhaps. I mean, I think like the outlier for me was always kind of Ultimate Spider-Man, because I felt like that was kind
Yeah.
of off, kind of doing its own thing a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like one thing I noticed actually was so like I, you know, again, I try to be kind of active on this stuff, but like, you know, when I announced the book like over on my Instagram,
Hmm.
like Bendis liked it.
Yeah.
And like it was such a weird thing because like again, you know, like I don't um it's not, I'm very much kind of, you know, off, you know, somewhere in like, you know, chilly north of England, you know, in my
Yeah.
office, kind of, you know, just doing this stuff and left alone.
Yeah.
And it isn't really until the announcement goes out, like that, you know, like the rubber really kind of hits the road.
It's real
And
now because now other
yeah,
people
like
get
that's
opinions
like,
about this thing
but
that
it
you've
wasn't
only.
until Bendis liked it, and I was like, oh, like again, I don't know if you will, but I was like, oh man, like there is like a non-zero chance that like
He'll yeah, one of the
he's
architects will
reading
read.
this.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
again, like I don't think you can kind of keep that in your head when you're composing these things, because like that way madness lies, right? Like you'd
100%.
be you'd be completely incapable of doing anything.
Hmm.
Right.
But um but now, yeah, like I'm starting to go, like, man, like I wonder what they would make of it. You know, have I, you know, like I did absolutely everything I possibly could to sort of do everybody justice. But like there's also another thing. I mean, like a lot of the fan reaction is like, you know, you know, I think I felt like I kind of understood the assignment in the sense that, you know, it's the ultimate universe, right? So like, yeah, I'm going to have a POV character, which is going to be 616 Spider-Man, right? Like that's the POV character. But I can't, you know, I can't just have him like, you know, sitting in a restaurant with like 1610 Tony Stark
Yeah.
for like 25 pages. You know what I mean? Like the assignment is you got to showcase a lot of people that people like. And so like I tried to, but like, you know, all of a sudden, you know, the thing's announced, and then it's like, well, what about this character? What about this character? What about this
Like,
character?
dang
Like,
it.
no,
Right.
because I can't, and nah. And I
Yeah.
had to curate it, you know, because
Yeah.
otherwise, you know, um, because otherwise it would, you know, it wouldn't have been a story. It would have just been like a series of kind of cameos,
Cameos.
you know?
Yeah,
Right.
100%.
Yeah, like it, but you know, I mean, that's the thing. Like and in like I think in the end, like I think like I'm really like I really mean this. Like I'm super proud of it, just because I think it's a really tight story that means something. It means
Hmm.
something. Like I think it's sort of impactful. I think it's relevant.
Yeah.
Um, and also I was spinning like 40 plates and I don't think any of them smashed. You know
That's
what I
hey,
mean?
I
Yeah.
like those odds.
Hey, Gail Simone talks about spinning plates, so you can do it too.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of spinning plates in this industry. But
Yeah.
what's interesting is that in an effort to not try to ask you the same sort of questions that you've been asked
No,
many
no, ask
times
away, like
before.
whatever you want.
No, but in an effort to like not have you retread on some of this stuff, I was listening to one of your interviews when the Cyclops was early on, and I heard one of the questions being posed to you being, can we expect like a bunch of other cameos from people in Cyclops's life? And that just like sent me back to this idea that like what a reader expects from some of this stuff is completely different than the writer's intent, and he has to match them at some points. But I don't think that the Cyclops book is like again a cameo fest, and I think it's almost stronger because of that. You didn't need a bunch
Hmm.
of different point of views or anything like that to tell the Cyclops story that you wanted to tell. And I feel like equally, it feels like a monumentous effort to in, you know uh, condense two very dense storylines between the universes in your story. But what you used on purpose to tell the story that you need to. And I think some people need to pull their expectations a bit back because as fans, we often don't know what we need or want. We just know what we know. So we expect what we know. So you hear a Cyclops series and it's like, okay, when's Havoc showing up? Is Jean a bunch? Is Jean in it a bunch? And, a bunch of other stuff. And that would have just derailed the message and the story that you were trying to tell with Scott initially. I would have done a worse Cyclops story as a fan because I would have just done stuff that had already been done because you think
Right.
you want to just play all the hits sometimes.
I mean, the only thing I'd sort of say to that, and it's not a disagreement per
Yeah,
se,
yeah, yeah.
is like I'm a fan. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%.
Um, and it's I think the tricky thing, right, is it's there are a couple people like charitably, I'm going to say my dad's probably one of them for
Yeah,
whom like this Cyclops is like precision engineered for them. You know what I mean?
right. Yeah,
That is their like platonic ideal of what a perfect Cyclops book is. But there are going to be other people, and I think it's the thing of it's I don't want to make this sound like a dry exercise,
yeah,
but it's like if I'm hitting over like 50% of what people want, like I feel like I've done my job.
yeah,
Like if that sort of mental checklist, is like half full,
yeah,
like I feel like I've possibly understood the assignment, right?
yeah,
Um, and like I think, like I've seen people who have like issues with the Cyclops book, and uh again, like I'm not I feel like you're only ever in danger, I think, professionally. I mean, again, famous last words, something
yeah, yeah.
I'll get struck by lightning
Well,
after
write this
I've
on your
spoken.
tombstone. This will be the
But
inscription on
yeah,
your
like
tombstone.
um um but like I feel like you're at least just purely in professional terms, right? You're only ever in danger, I believe, and others' mileage may vary, but just from what I've observed, it seems to me that you're only ever in danger when you think you've cracked it.
Interesting.
Right? I saw something a while ago that just really resonated with me and really stuck with me. And I thought, okay, this is how you conduct yourself professionally, right? And it was Walt Simonson, who
Legend, legend.
is absolutely, man. But like the point is, like why is Walt Simonson still working? You know, there are people of his generation who are not, you
Yeah,
know.
that's very true.
What is it, what's unique about Mr. Simonson to me, um, that enables him to continue operating at such a high professional level? And there are other names you could bring into the conversation, right? Like Ann
Hmm.
Nesenti, Barry Windsor Smith, right?
Yeah,
Um, it like right up to before he passed, right? Like Denny O'Neil, right?
yeah,
Chris
Um,
Claremont? Chris Claremont?
Chris, yeah,
yeah,
Dan's book, right? Like, I mean, I know much younger, but Dennis Cowan, right? Like,
yeah,
operating at operating at a very high level in the 80s, just as relevant now. What
Hmm.
is that? And I saw something that Walt Simonson said, and I thought, okay, this is the way to conduct yourself. And he said, every time I see a deficiency in my recent work, I celebrate because it means I'm about to level up. And I was
Interesting.
thinking about that, and I'm like, man, like, this is a guy who, even at this, who could have sat down and gone, you know what? Nobody can teach me nothing. I'm Walt
Yeah.
Simonson, whatever. I was like, no, no, no. He's still a student.
Yeah.
He still considers himself to be in school and is still looking to people both his age and younger and considering them peers. Um, and I think as long as you do that, you you'll be okay. But like the moment you think, nah, it's cool. I know how to do this. I think again, others' mileage may vary. I find it helps. It just helps me, right? Like that's the thing
No,
is that's how
100%.
I don't rest on my laurels. Is okay. I'm always at school. I've always got stuff to learn.
Yeah. And this medium is ever evolving. I was thinking like in general, like with your Infinity comic series, like how challenging it must be to like that was a whole nother medium. Like the page layout, the like that's something you had to learn. Now, if you had rubbed up against it the wrong way and been like, guys, I don't really want to, all those stories would have went to somebody else who would have tried. Like your ability to adapt and try this whole new medium, led to so many great stories, so many great characterizations. But you have to have that open mind of, I can play in a different space. I can, like you said, I can learn more. I can evolve. And we spoke to Mark Wade. Now we're name dropping. We spoke to Mark Wade not that long ago, and Mark still has that verve for learning,
Yeah,
for writing with other people, for the collaborative nature. He still has stories in his head. He's not put all his best stories out there. Like he still loves the creative process and loves this medium so much that it's kept a battery in his back for the entirety of this. And being creative
but
is
like that's the thing.
rough.
Like
Yeah,
he had a if I grew up like reading his Flash, right? Like I
yeah,
grew up
100%.
like I cut my teeth on that stuff. Like that was like the first like, and I still consider him to in many ways be the the epitome of the consummate superhero craftsperson. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like just
yeah.
he writes perfect superhero comics.
Hmm.
Um, but he could have stopped in 1996 and gone, I
Yeah,
know how to do this now.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But
We got
but
World's Finest coming out in a couple weeks, and he's on that. Like he's on
yeah,
that still. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
100%. But as you say, like, he's always at school. And like, by the way, like, just sorry for clarity, like, I'm not comparing myself to Mark Wade, like, in any way, but like, I aspire to that. You know what I mean? I
yeah,
aspire to be that kind of perpetual kind of student.
Mhm.
I think it's like it's the safest and only way to be.
Right.
yeah. And I think it goes back to having an unabashed love for this medium. I think it goes back
An
to,
unabashed love for the media, but I think
yeah,
also, and again, maybe I sort of flat, but like hopefully, like humility before it. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
And like an awareness that like, man, there's some like, there's people who come up through web comics, man, like and this is
yeah,
not even a new thing. Who are like they're in their early 30s now, who are doing things that I couldn't even dream of. Just
yeah. And talk
even
about
just like with
the international creative teams now that you can go ahead and be in two different countries entirely and just communicate through, emails and stuff and still get immensely terrific work because you're getting people from different perspectives, from
yeah,
different parts of the world who again love this so much that they're willing to come together and collaborate on it.
yeah.
So yeah, this is I'd love to do this even longer. I've got
Sorry.
some engagements. No, but we've got to do this again. I would love to do this again with you if you have any time in the near future because um this conversation is not only enlightening, but I think that people will get a better heartbeat of the stories that you're trying to tell by listening to the man itself because you can tell how closely knit those two things are. Sometimes you
Yeah.
speak to somebody and I'm like, how did you write what you wrote? That's nothing like that's nothing of the kind of person that you are. But your earnestness and your ability to be so candid about your creative processes, the pitfalls, and understanding that is a collaboration with a bunch of
Hmm.
people that want this to succeed, and then an additional collaboration with the audience that you're trying to reach, the audience that you're trying to have enjoy your work, and how integral that all is. But the initial collaboration and the most collaboration is with yourself and your heart, and knowing that you two are on the same page and being able to tell the story that you want to tell without the restrictions of fear of being vulnerable. Your bravery in that world. And I don't use that lightly. Sometimes it may seem that we talk about this on a level that maybe shouldn't be spoken about, but I don't believe in the the bigotry of low expectations when it comes to this medium, because I've seen it save lives. I quite literally have seen comic books save lives, stories save lives,
Mhm.
and
Yep.
you are adding uh, some tremendous work to a pile. Standing on the shoulders of giants, you will then elevate other people as well as you, continue on this journey. And I just want to thank you not only for your time here, but the time that you spent with your head in the sand, creating the stories
Yep.
that resonate with fans, especially fans of some of the stuff that you've tackled, or people who've been fans of this stuff for 60 plus years, characters that have existed even longer than that. And for you to be able to find a new angle, to find the human nature of it, for you to, like I said again, be vulnerable enough to maybe unintentionally, but actively connect us all. You just thank you so much for what you not only given to the media, but even this conversation here. I do think that this stuff deserves this level of introspection, because I think that depth is there. Maybe it's not. I'm not 100% sure, but I feel it is. I feel like it is, and I feel like it's worth that. I feel like it's worth talking about these things because it's our lives. These stories are our lives. These are our modern day folk tales. These are our, this is our Johnny Appleseed kind of stuff. And we learn through them. We learn about each other through them. And life is better because comic books exist, and comics are better because you exist. So I'm thankful so much that you gave us the time and the work that you've put into this medium.
I'm as you know, as I've sort of said on sort of numerous occasions now, I'm British, so I have no idea what to do with that.
You put it in your back
Other
pocket.
than other no like no like other than to sincerely thank you. I mean it's a funny one as well, just because of the sort of nature of the work. You're kind of throwing it out into the void.
Yeah.
Um, and again, I mean, I sort of mentioned, I touched on it earlier, but like I can't, when you make something and um it you feel like you've had a conversation with someone,
Hmm.
and either it's been received as you hoped or better than you'd hoped. Um,
Yeah.
it is a And I use the term I hope in like its truest sort of sense, like it's a sincerely kind of humbling feeling, like it and spectacular. So yeah. So I know I'm being really awkward about that, but
No, no, it's
no, like
absolutely fine.
it really it means so much. Thank you so much. And for the reception that Cyclops and sort of everything else has had as well. Like I'm sort of beside myself. I couldn't be more grateful. So thank you.
So if there's any hesitance towards a new project, any sort of second guessing, any sort of imposter syndrome, just know people are resonating with your work. People are digging it and they want more of it. So if anything, if you don't know what to do with this, hopefully this puts a battery in your back to keep doing what you're doing. Keep working hard and keep delivering this great content that we love so much.
Thank you. Both of
Yeah.
you, gents. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Where are you going to be? Are you going to be at New York Comic Con or Tampa Comic Con or Comic Con?
Is Comic Con just like that's just San Diego, right?
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the current plan at the moment is New York. Uh uh and we'll see what else happens because uh my roof is leaking.
Fair, fair,
All right.
fair.
Well, look, all right, we solved that real easy, right? You come move in with me for a little bit while your house is getting fixed.
There you
We go
go.
to New York Comic Con together because I'm already scheduled to go. I'm already set up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's going
You
as
can
press for
stay.
Comic Book Click, so he'll be
Yeah,
out there.
I'll
Oh
be
Yep.
out there.
wow, you like you like press credentialed and you're all
Mhm.
tabling and stuff, and that's
Yeah,
great,
well,
man.
Yeah.
and I got family there, so you can stay with them and us.
There you go.
And all you got to do is buy a six pack.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's it. Only a six pack. You were talking about pierogies before, and we had Matthew Rosenberg on here talking about his top three pierogies because
Pierogies
apparently
are
he's a pierogi savant.
Uh,
So you got to
he
come
is a
down and have
pierogi.
some pierogies. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, like every time I'm in the city, um, he takes me to Veselka.
Okay.
very
Um,
nice. Very nice.
yeah, and like I have like the short I kind of house I house a cheeseburger and some short rib pierogi, which is like disgusting
Nice.
excess, right? Like
Right, right, right.
that's not how human beings should behave.
No, that's
Uh,
American
No,
though.
that it's American, and how often do you do it? Come on now.
I mean, like I'm not gonna lie, if I'm over for a week, I'm probably going like every other day. Like it's
That's awesome stuff.
it's a
Can
bad
can you?
scene.
Are
Like
you in London? Are you in London?
no, I'm about 30 miles east of Liverpool.
Okay,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
30 miles east of Liverpool, does this stuff exist? No,
I'm no,
no.
do you know like I'm gonna cause a domestic incident. I'm gonna cause a domestic incident here, right?
Okay,
International,
okay,
baby,
okay.
let's go.
So MCM, like the big London one, right?
Mhm.
So like I
Mhm.
go down and they have all these, like there's like holes in the wall and like concession stands and
Love
all
it,
this
love
stuff.
it.
And like one of them is like, you can get a Reuben, right?
Ooh.
Which uh is like it's pretty much perfect sandwich.
Yeah.
Perfect sandwich.
Yeah. Okay.
Um and but like I've had Reubens like in Chicago and like I've had Reubens in New York and it's like it's basic, like it's a football of meat, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful
Yeah.
thing.
When you
It's
say
just
football,
hidden
you mean a
behind
soccer
bread.
ball or you mean a football? What do you mean?
That's fair. That's a fair question.
Like yes to both, you know what I mean?
There you
But also like but like so good that like, like I've come close to weeping, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's just a
Yeah.
beautiful
Yeah.
sandwich. And then like I get this one in London and it's this kind of like sad
Aw,
rind
shaving, a
of
shaving of a piece
gristle.
of meat.
Yeah, with like
Terrible.
something that calls itself sauerkraut and like some sort of
Uh,
like dry Swiss and everything. And I'm kind of sitting there going like, yeah, like it's just like there are things here that they will look, someone's gonna, I'll get a call and go, well, actually, you can get amazing pierogi in Glasgow. But like
Right,
right.
right.
everything I've tried here, like has not it's a pale imitation.
That's awesome. So yeah, we just need to get you down here, get some more short rib pierogies. I dig it.
Well,
Yeah.
but like Florida, like I mean, like
Oh,
I'm going to
Cubans,
be like
Cubans here in Florida.
backstroking in
Cubans.
like incredible Cuban food, right?
Yeah, oh my
Right.
God, Cuban seafood, right? Because it's right off the thing. It's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's all so good. Yeah, it's all tremendous. So
Yeah.
yeah, we got to link up. We got to do that. We'll definitely, like I said, have you on. Whether it's to talk about a new project of yours or again just to
Or
kind of
sandwiches.
or sandwiches. I'm down for the
I get
sandwich
really
talk.
excited.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
I'm 100%
noticed.
down for.
I went
I'm
to
down for sandwich
have you
talk.
guys been to Lens in Manhattan yet? Lens is
Uh-uh.
Lens is a,
Lens, no?
I didn't know about it either. I was there. I was like I said, I was just there. My sister took me to this sandwich place called Lens. I had a great barbecue burger. She had some kind of chicken wrap. And then afterwards we were both like, yeah, this is really, really good. We get back to my brother's house and his wife, she works in Manhattan. She's like, you guys went to Lens? And I'm like, apparently we did.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it was like, oh, that sandwich shop is amazing. This, that, and the third. I'm like, yeah, it was. It was pretty.
yeah.
I didn't know it was a thing. I didn't know. So
It
Lens,
speaks to
check
the
out
comic
Lens.
creator though. Like a sandwich is the most collaborative meal you can have, right? It's a
That's
bunch
right.
of people working in tandem. The sauces, the
Love it.
vegetables, the meats, all working in tandem to get you
Brigade
the right
style.
result.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's a whole thing.
I
But
love
like,
it.
yeah,
I mean, like going on a sort of like late night burger odyssey with Rosenberg is like it's one of the great delights of my life.
yeah.
Nice. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
because
because like
he lives in Manhattan or Brooklyn.
Manhattan.
Okay,
Oh,
Uh
okay.
oh, even
like
better.
but like yeah, like but you'll kind of you'll find yourself like you know what I mean? Like it's not like he's not taking you to the kind of well, this is like with like bone marrow and truffle. Like he's not
Right,
taking you
right,
to
right.
those places. You know what I
No.
mean?
Yeah,
Like he's taking like he has this whole thing because like over here, um like all like the whole gourmet burger thing's just gotten ridiculous. You know what I mean? It's like, well, we're
Really?
gonna like deep
Man.
fry a camembert and like put that on like a brioche and all this stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And like he obviously thinks that that is like an affront to like God and man, right? Like
Right,
that's
yeah.
like practically blasphemy. So he's like, no, no, no. Like you go to this hole in the wall place, you know what I
Yep.
mean? And like it's basically something made with like total contempt for your body.
Yeah.
And you know, like
They haven't cleaned the flat top in a couple
yeah,
years.
That's
yeah, a
right.
hundred.
Hmm.
Like
You can
he'll
taste
take you to
you can
kind of
taste
those
1,000 years of burgers. Yes.
100, yeah, and yeah, exactly. And like the grill has just like like you can taste the rust, and it's
Yeah.
just beautiful.
It's
And
good.
yeah, he'll take you to those places, and it's like it's life changing.
Yeah.
Honestly, you just and like every time I try and catch him out, and like he always just pulls it out, and it's
That's
always
funny.
like some weird hole in the wall place, and it's always absolutely life changing.
There you go. Oh, fun times. Yeah, a bunch of stuff, right? But yes, while he goes and he does that, ladies and gentlemen, like I said again, go ahead, pick up What If Secret Wars #1. It's coming out July 1st of this year. They're taking a really cool sort of Black Mirror-esque approach to these anthology series where you don't know what could happen, but it's most definitely going to be dark. We already have all the cheery and the fun stuff in the main line, so go ahead and check out what's going on in the What If series. Go check out Cyclops right now. A lot of people you're going to hear talking about it, but this is again, it's a Scott Summer, and we have that because of Alex here. So thank you so much for that. Go pick up all his other books. Go pick up books from the rest of the collective in the White Noise. Those guys are killing the game, and you can tell, like I was saying before, these are collaborative efforts of love. With quality control from people who love this medium and love the creators in it. That's how this medium continues. That's how it evolves, by instilling this love, this collaborative nature, and reminding again, none of us can do this alone. We all need each other to reach the heights that we are meant to reach. So, Alex, thank you so much for your time again. And yeah, we will talk. We will talk very soon. And half of it at least has to be about sandwiches when we do. So we will
It
definitely
was
get
such a
around to it.
pleasure. Thank you,
Yeah,
Alex. Thank you for having me. This has been a delight.
yeah.
I hope I didn't babble too much, but no, I
No,
appreciate
no,
it.
no. I just know that we are. Yeah, I'm already excited for the next time we have you on. So this is gonna be fantastic. But again, we end all these beautiful conversations with the comic book click logo, which is to remind that you guys that you, yes, you are worthy.